one?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
How do you know that you've achieved true renunciation?
That's a different question.
Is it?
Yes, what is renunciation?
Yeah.
What is it? And then you said, how do you know when you've achieved true renunciation? That's not the same thing.
It is though, because true renunciation is like, yeah, you're fed up, but that's not actual renunciation. It's constant state of mind. This isn't, by the way, this isn't on the exam. I'm just riffing. So all you need to do is write renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom if you're doing the exam. I'm
Is
just
it
kind of quizzing you guys.
Is it when you go to refuge? When you take refuge in the three jewels?
Pretty much, yeah. It's like your thoughts are constantly, you're constantly engaged with the idea that you want to get out. What's bodhicitta?
It's the wish to achieve enlightenment for the sake of others.
Yeah. And bodhi means enlightened, and citta means light. And what's correct view?
Wisdom, emptiness, the ultimate reality. There's a lot of synonyms for it, I think.
Yeah. So these are called the three principal paths because you need them.
What was the correct view again?
It's having a direct perception of emptiness.
Okay.
I didn't know it was the direct one.
Well, I mean, it kind of is because the three principal paths, like, you can talk about renunciation like, oh, I'm giving up this worldly desire, I'm giving up, and then you have, it's kind of like Buddha, Dharma, Sangha,
Oh,
and then what?
Yeah.
In a way, it's that kind of step. So bodhicitta is not just compassion, it's having the complete and total realization of a wish to achieve enlightenment for all living beings. That's different than just, holding the door open for someone who, you might not like. And these three things lead you to Buddhahood. That's why they're so important. This is cool because we were kind of talking about this last class. What are the two bodies of a Buddha?
And I can't remember.
Harmonica?
Starts with a T.
Two bodies.
The mind and physical body.
Which one's the physical body?
Well, Dharmakaya is the mind, so not that one.
So Dharmakaya
Is the mind.
is the wisdom body, or like the mind of a Buddha.
Uh-huh.
And then Rupakaya is the physical body. So then the question is, how do you create those two bodies? To the physical body.
Through
Practicing
method.
method. Patience, ethical living.
Isn't it like generosity does the
Giving.
generosity, morality, and one other does the physical and
joyful
like
effort.
concentration and wisdom.
Yeah. So there's one. What is it? Is it like the shortest version of this? It's like I know. Even in the dedication, it's like may I gain the two bodies that merit and wisdom make. So merit, which they group together in this as renunciation and bodhicitta, creates the physical body of a Buddha, and wisdom creates the Dharmakaya, which is the mind of the Buddha, or the wisdom body.
I think more simply, one is an understanding of ultimate reality, and one is doing good deeds.
Yes, but I also found it interesting because when you have the three principal paths, they're saying that two of them create one of the bodies,
Right.
and one of them creates one of the bodies. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
So they're saying that renunciation
and bodhicitta go to creating the physical body?
I'm trying to find the actual answer here. Here we go. Name the two causes of the bodies. The collection of wisdom causes the wisdom body, the Dharmakaya, and the collection of merit causes the form body, the Rupakaya.
But then the next question is, which of the three principal paths cause each?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And then that's right underneath.
Right.
Renunciation and the wish for enlightenment contribute primarily to the physical body. And I thought it was interesting here, and I kind of don't like this translation, but when he writes the wish for enlightenment, what he means, it's shorthand for the wish for enlightenment for the sake of all living beings. So he's actually talking about bodhicitta. But I think it's at a point where the concept is so new in the coursework that he doesn't use that word.
For the sake of living.
Yeah, so renunciation and bodhicitta contribute to the physical body. And correct view or wisdom or the direct perception of emptiness creates the mental body or the Dharmakaya.
But couldn't you say too that bodhicitta also helps you build wisdom, like the mind?
That's a good question.
Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. You can be a bodhisattva without having a direct perception of emptiness.
Oh yeah.
And you can have a direct perception of emptiness without being a bodhisattva.
Can I ask a question that I've never had before? Yeah. There's like this, I don't know, but there's something about like you have to have a certain amount of merit to even hear and understand wisdom, and the merit is created by bodhicitta, right?
No, because bodhicitta is something that you need to have a direct realization of, just like the direct perception of emptiness. Like, not all merit is created by bodhicitta.
Right. I see what you're saying. But isn't like the merit that you need in order to hear wisdom dependent upon like things that have nothing to do with wisdom? So it feels a little like twisted to be like, it's not, or twisted is not the word, but like it feels like they're all intertwined.
I think the fact that you're here in this room is because you've accumulated a certain amount of merit to hear this stuff, right? So that collecting that merit may not necessarily have anything to do with bodhicitta, just stuff that you've done in the past that got you here. So I think they are very much interconnected, and one kind of leads into the other. Yeah.
It's a karma question.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
We're not really there, but it like what comes to my mind when you ask that question is that something has to be caused by something of a similar nature. So, right? Because there's no first cause. And you can't have a cause that has a dissimilar result. We're actually going to go over the 4 laws of karma a little bit. I mean, we can go over them now. It's actually
Before we go on, sorry, to go back to something. What were the Sanskrit names of the 2 bodies of a Buddha?
Dharmakaya and Rupakaya.
There's Rupakaya.
Yeah, Rupakaya. And then they're each divided into 2 other ones. It's like Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya. I don't remember all of them.
Right, okay. I was very confused about.
So in the notes that I printed for you guys on the 2nd page, there's the 4 principles of karma, and they're that actions produce similar results, the consequences are greater than the actions, you can't have the consequence without committing the action, and you can't have an action without a consequence. So I guess in regards to your question, like, it's like, yeah, there's no first cause. It's interesting because like I always want to think of a first cause.
But isn't it the same, like, isn't that the reason we say like from time without beginning? Because it's like which came first, like the chicken or the egg?
Yeah. Yeah, there is no first cause. So then the question is like, what would be that like kind of beginningless karmic stream that's creating the reality in which you see yourself here now? And I guess a somewhat tangential question, but something that would still be relevant, is how do you perpetuate the karmas that get you in a situation where you're talking about Dharma and you're learning Dharma? And I think you're doing it just by being here. But also like in an instructional sense, like if you think about like, you know, coffee meditation and karma of love and stuff that Geshe Michael has taught, it would be sharing the Dharma and teaching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's nice. Okay, this was interesting to me. The next question.
15.
9.
No, question 9.
Oh, sorry.
Is there any relationship between the 3 principal paths and tantric practice? Now, I found something that I thought answered the question, but I'm not entirely sure, and I just kind of want to hear what you guys would say. I couldn't find this exact question in the answer key.
I remember it from class when
Okay.
Michael Dunn taught it. I don't remember it word for word, but I remember him talking about it.
Okay.
I think it has to do, I mean, I want to say it relates to all 3 of the 3, but I definitely think renunciation was something that I remember. Like, it definitely relates to renunciation.
I remember something too, but I'll wait till.
Yeah, I forget. But anyways, like, having a practice, like, you can't go into a tantric practice without having correct view or renunciation. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily true with bodhicitta.
What I remember is, and I know nothing about Tantra, but what I remember is Tantra is like a naturally occurring result of having the 3 principal paths.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right. That isn't what I was going to say.
And I don't, you know, that doesn't mean anything to me, but I remember that.
I feel like I've heard many people say that.
Yeah,
like
actually.
Geshe Michael and Hector.
Can you say that again?
Tantra is a naturally occurring event of having the 3 principal paths in your heart and mind.
It's like when I was asking about Padmasambhava, and I was like, oh yeah, like he invented Tantra, right? And then, were you there for that?
I think so.
And like someone said, like, no one invented Tantra. Tantra just is.
Occurs.
Like Tantra just occurs. And I was like, whoa. But what I was gonna actually say for this was something that I found like.
What does it say in the answer for that?
There is none. That's what I was
No
saying.
answer to that question, isn't there?
No.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like searching around, and then what did I do? I think I looked in the actual reading, and it said, where did it go? It was basically like once you, I think I searched secret.
Wow, did you see that?
What?
There's, in between Tibetan track is Tantra. Did you see that?
What?
Yeah.
That's funny.
What?
When I was searching Tantra, it would take like Tibetan,
Oh,
T-A-N, and then track, T-R-A,
Yeah.
and then it would say Tantra. So
I
I
don't want to
saw.
make you guys like backpedal too much, but what's Tantra? I don't know what Tantra is.
It just,
No, go ahead.
it just literally means secret teachings.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone here is initiated in Tantra. Paul would be the only
I
one.
think Paula's just secretly
I don't know if you
initiated.
are.
There's like, but it
None of us really know.
there's like 2 types of teachings. There's like Sutra, which we're doing right here, which are called the open teachings. And it's like, what would you say, like the base sort of teachings? And then Tantra, which are higher teachings. I mean, y'all stop.
And basically, like, you need to know Sutra in order for
Really
Tantra to
well.
work.
Because they get passed down probably to teachers, and then the teachers
Yeah.
will teach you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess key point. Tantra is like the fast track to enlightenment. It's supposed to get you enlightened in one lifetime. That's why
If
people
you do
practice
it correctly. And that's why you have to have the foundation of sutra.
Yeah.
You can't just like learn tantra not knowing anything about sutra and think it's going to do something.
And that's also why it naturally occurs, because if you're doing everything correctly in your sutra practice,
Yeah.
a tantric practice, like a path to enlightenment that would happen in this lifetime would of course naturally happen. Like if you're doing everything ethically correct and like your
Right,
meditation is
creating
perfect and your
this
correct view is
experience.
perfect, it would have to lead you to enlightenment in this lifetime.
So Tantra has two meanings.
I think it literally translates to secret
Okay.
teachings.
Yeah,
Teaching.
secret
I
teachings
thought it
or.
said it was.
And also the natural
Oh, it might
occurring
be
event.
Swiss path.
Yeah. Sorry.
So it has two meanings. Tantra.
It doesn't. I mean, I guess.
So,
Secret
what was,
teachings, but it
what was
is.
the term for the naturally occurring event by applying these three things?
That was
Tantra
the,
occurs naturally.
yeah. That was the relationship between the three principal paths and the tantra practice.
Okay, so Tantra practice is
Just like a
The
secret
secret teachings.
practicing the sacred teaching.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost like you rise to a level of being able to understand that next level of teachings by practicing the three principal paths.
It's like the
okay.
calculus.
So you would come to these groups, learn, and all of a sudden you'd be at a point where like, all right,
Yeah.
the next level is open to me. The next
Got it.
level is, or I'm ready for the next level, which is the secret
Oh.
teachings, which you get initiated to hear.
Yeah, and I
We're
think,
not even supposed to talk about them.
I think some of
I don't
the
think we're supposed to have this discussion. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, no,
far
this is
it goes.
fine. They talk
Yeah,
about
this
this.
is
They
fine.
talk about this.
Yeah, like, I
Michael
think-
Dunn told us all this.
I think that in a way a lot of it would naturally occur in your mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the ideas of tantra and practices of tantra would naturally occur in your mind in a way. And then the initiations are the things that you kind of need to like knock on the door and be like, hey, like I'm ready.
Yeah,
But I think
it
the
almost seems to me
logic comes.
like
But-
once you get to that point where you're studying tantra, you're going to say, "Oh, I knew that," or "I know that," because
Right.
you've gotten to that point where it naturally occurs, and you don't know what the teachings are. But when you start to hear them, you think, "I know that stuff already."
Yeah.
I don't know that, but that's kind of the way I feel about it. It's like
That,
once
I
you
feel
get there,
that
you
way too.
realize you're there already.
Yeah.
But I feel like there would be more vows.
You guys have.
There's a lot of vows.
There is.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so number 10 actually, which is number 1 right here, is a nice segue because I know that in Tantra your teacher is very, 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 very important.
I
So,
think there's another variant.
Wait,
Very-
did we answer number 9? You said you were trying to find it.
I like what Paul said.
Okay.
I want to say that. Because what I found was similar, it was less eloquent. And it was essentially like when you have followed the 3 principal paths, you can then utilize Tantra to expedite your enlightenment. You can
Right.
move it ahead.
So there's also a teacher for Tantra. Is it something happens naturally, occurs naturally?
Yeah. Someone has to like pass down the teachings.
Yeah, we wouldn't be teaching tantra in this class.
I understand. My question is there a teacher for Tantra, or is it something that naturally happens? So
No,
you
I
don't
think
need anyone
there's
to
a
tell
whole
you?
nother, there are 18 courses here.
Mhm.
There's another set
Yeah.
of 18 courses that are tantra
Oh.
for those people who want to get initiated and go study that.
I've heard a lot of debate on teachers. And I've heard people say that they're their own teacher. And that's very controversial. Because in a way you kind of are. Even if you have a being out there that seems like a separate being, they're obviously something that you've created. But then there is also like such an urgency in this text, for example, when we're talking about a qualified lama, to find someone who, is ethical, has scriptural knowledge, will go through the qualities. So I would say, like, to answer your question, probably yes and no. And I don't know. Everything is empty, and therefore.
I always kind of assumed it was like your art teacher.
I don't know if it has to be.
No, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a
But
good
in my
point.
mind, like that was.
And also, like, with and we've discussed this here before. Bundy, I don't remember if you were here for it, but we talked about the practice of seeing everyone around you as a Buddha.
I don't remember that.
It's like the idea of like kind of imagining, and I don't know how much this intersects with Tantra, I would assume that it would. Like kind of seeing everyone around you as an enlightened being. So in that way they're all your teachers. So I'm sorry I'm not giving you a complete answer to your question. I just kind of gave you a little bit of like all the things I've been thinking about teachers. But at some point, I believe traditionally you get one teacher and you essentially serve them like a Buddha. And therefore you plant the seeds to see them as a Buddha, and you plant the seeds to see yourself as a Buddha, and then you become a Buddha. But again, I don't know a lot about Tantra. When you're looking for a teacher, so there's these 10 qualities, which I feel like I just can't escape. Like I feel like they're always showing up. Hey guys.
We could scoot up.
Yeah, there's one seat here. Oh, you guys probably want to sit next to each other, huh?
It's okay. It's okay. We're that good.
There's one here, and
then you can pull that one here.
There's
or
two
that
over
one.
there if you want to bring them.
Yeah, careful, the ceiling's dripping.
Yeah, it's wet over there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's getting fixed tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Is that coming from outside or is that coming from above?
No, it's the neighbors upstairs. I'm not sure exactly.
It might be there. Those pipes where the sink is. Up above,
Yeah.
maybe.
So anyway, I feel like I can't escape these 10 characteristics of a qualified Lama. I feel like I'm always like reading this for some reason. Do you feel that way, Steve?
No.
I'm just like, 10 characteristics. But you can't be choosy with Dharma. So when you're learning Buddhism and you're serious about it, it's really good to feel like you have a teacher that is a good teacher. Of course, if you can only get the Dharma, in a certain way, like, you should get it when you can. But it's nice to plant the seeds to have a perfect teacher. So that's what this is. The 10 characteristics of a qualified Lama. So, someone who can control themselves. So they're ethical. They're trained in ethics. They're at peace, so they have a high degree of meditative concentration. And then high peace, they have a higher degree of meditation. It's just like peace and peace. Okay. Hector elaborates better than this.
but this says high peace speaking to wisdom, not to.
Oh yeah, good.
Right.
So concentration and wisdom are B and C.
Which means they should have the direct perception of emptiness.
I think that's another one.
Is it?
Hold on.
They should have an understanding.
Yeah, that's
of
G.
it, at least.
Deep realization of suchness.
Oh, okay.
They have spiritual qualities which exceed that of their student. They should be willing to make great efforts or take great joy in helping their students. They should be rich in scripture or have a lot of knowledge of the sacred texts.
That's F, right?
Do you know many people that have had success finding a teacher?
Sorry?
Do you know a lot of people that have had success finding a teacher?
Yes.
Well, what they say that's not in this final exam, when you take it during the course, it's like you're looking for a teacher with these 10 qualities. If you can't find the 10 qualities, 5 is good.
Okay.
If you can't find the 5, 3 is good.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Until,
That's.
and what the thing is with these and with the teachers, like, you're creating the causes to find a perfect teacher. So if somebody has only 3 out of 10, doesn't mean you can't create the causes for them to become 5 out of 10 and 10 out of 10.
And it's also your perception. Like some people can have a teacher that other people do not think is a good teacher or a qualified teacher. It's you creating the teacher.
Okay.
And it's like such an amazing ripening if you can find a teacher that has all of these qualities. It's like,
Yeah, I think if you just start off with that one that says they have a higher, no more of the Dharma or the scriptures than you do, then that's someone you can learn from. And that,
Okay.
you know, eventually I think the idea is that leads you to other people,
Yeah.
to other situations, and then you find, oh, this
and
is
who
someone.
can control themselves. Because I've met a lot of people who like know a lot about Dharma, but they're just such poor, and you know, this is my karma because of the way that I am, but just such poor like ethics that I'm like, I
I
don't
was
want
gonna
to
say ethics help.
I don't
Ethical
want to learn
helps.
from you. I mean, it's I find that I learn just as much from people who live a very ethical way of life than as I do from people who are rich in scriptural
Of
knowledge.
course, yeah, I agree.
Where are we?
They also say to find your heart teacher, you should test them for at least 12
Right.
years.
Mm-hmm.
So you really want to like be sure of who your teacher is before. I guess it's before you take tantric vows.
There's a difference between like learning from someone and then like being like, you are my teacher, and
Yeah.
like
'Cause
I
it's-
didn't understand that.
Right,
when
it's
I
like
first started.
it's not just a teacher, it's like your guru. It's like they're talking about like a heart teacher here.
Yeah, there's a difference, and I haven't figured it out
It's called
yet.
vulnerability, maybe.
Well, yeah, it's putting your spiritual trust into someone, and
Yeah.
if that person is, if you choose someone and that's not the right person,
Unethical.
and you're studying with them, you're learning, not only are you not learning correctly, but it's like setting you back, because then you
Yeah.
gotta get back to where you started from.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal, it's one of those things that they talk about, like, set you back like eons and eons and eons, kind of spiritually, so it's an important decision, but I think like Rachel said, you could have 50 teachers and somebody is teaching you ethics. Your mother could be teaching you ethics and have no spiritual knowledge at all, but that person or a friend of yours is still a teacher that you realize this person is better than me at doing this, or being aware of how they treat other people or something like that.
Yeah.
I can learn from that person. That's a teacher of mine.
Have you guys heard this difference, and maybe you know what it is, between a root teacher versus a heart teacher? Because
Never heard
they
that.
I thought it was the same.
I kind of think that it's not. I remember asking Geshe Tashi once, and like it was sort of like, ooh, and I was like, oh, is that it was kind of weird. And it feels like sometimes they use them interchangeably, because I thought that was it, and then I feel like there might be a difference, so I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, Geshe Tashi also might have been,
Not understanding my English.
yeah,
Yeah.
or understanding the difference in translation.
I thought like a Neilama is a different thing, like a
Neilama,
Dharma
yeah,
friend kind
yeah.
of a thing, but I thought a art teacher and a root teacher was,
Okay, it might be.
yeah,
But I'm not
I'm
sure.
not sure either.
Okay.
Can you scroll down a little bit?
Is
Are
it
you, yeah. You're at G, right?
yeah, I didn't know where
So
everyone
is the
was.
great,
effort
is
thing.
he like joyful effort?
Oh, they take joy in teaching.
Yeah, we can say that.
Yeah, I think you've got the 6 perfections within all of these.
Yeah, totally. You have to. I mean, you know, makes sense. So rich in scripture, deep realization of suchness means that they should have perceived emptiness directly, or at least have like a very, very, very deep understanding of emptiness, both scripturally and intellectually. They should know how to teach to a room full of people at all different levels, and the Dalai Lama does this very well. Like I've heard people say like, whoa, like he was teaching Tantra the whole time, and I'm like, all I got was be nice to your neighbors. So, you know, like, that's definitely a quality of a No, I'm joking, but
No,
not
that's
as
true
much.
though.
Like I was asleep. Like, yeah. So they should be able to teach to the student's capacity. They should be the image of love, teaching the Dharma out of love for students and not for any worldly motives. I think Hector does this so well. And Hector also does J well. I know this personally because I've asked him the same question like 5,000 times, and he just keeps answering it without getting pissed off at me. Or at least I can't tell that he's pissed off at me.
Wait, sorry, what's
He's pissed off.
What's
He is, he's
H?
really pissed off.
Sorry, can you go back
He
up
tells
one
me
second? For H.
Okay.
So is that the...
He's watching it
The
live.
inside scoop.
I'm pissed.
So is H
really?
the teaching to all different types of students?
Yeah. Or like, not necessarily that they're always teaching to all different types of students, but that they have the capacity to teach to students who are all at different levels, but like, you're just like at the same time, like you're, you know what I was trying to do that with the Chogyam Trungpa quote that I read in Meditation Seed.
That was, I think it worked.
I thought about that when I was doing it. I was like, ooh, I wonder if I'm teaching at everyone's level.
What do you do if you find that you think that your teacher is pissed at you?
What do you do if you think your teacher is angry with you?
And even for something like I guess I'm just saying I can relate to like what you're saying, you know what I mean? And like,
What do I personally do?
yeah, like
This?
I think about everything I've said, how it went well, how it went bad. No, like you don't have to do anything.
You forgive them.
You can, if you feel that your teacher is upset with you, you should ask them.
Actually, yeah. I've heard plenty of stories where they're like, my teacher's mad at me.
Yeah.
It's a karmic ripening. You have to
Right,
fix it.
It's a karmic what?
Ripening. It's like
ripening.
it's something that came up. Like you have to look at it with correct view, and it's also like a lesson to be learned for you. Like why is it appearing from my teacher? So it's like a really big lesson for you to try and investigate.
yeah.
Because I've heard, and not like a lot, but and not even within this community only, but like in other traditions too. Like it's something that happens.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I even think it happened in the autobiography of a yogi.
I was gonna say, I don't remember, but I feel like Geshe Michael talks about like how Ken Rinpoche like used to make him like move all the rocks, and he like thought it was like
Yeah.
out of like not necessarily anger, but that like maybe he did something wrong, that he was making him move all the rocks.
Yeah.
And also, if you see someone as your teacher and you're kind of seeing them as an enlightened being, I wonder what they're trying to teach me in a harsh way, right? Because like anger is like it's a skill. You utilize the appearance of anger to make a very clear statement.
Right.
Milarepa.
If you're
Do you know that story? The story of Milarepa?
No.
It was Milarepa, right? His teacher was like super wrathful to him, and it was years and years of just like really physical labor, like a lot. It was like really hard for him. He almost gave up a couple times, and then finally just like purified.
There was also something I read.
Because he actually killed people. So it was like a lot to purify for him. So it appeared as really
His teacher
hard.
asked him to kill people?
No.
No,
No.
the student.
He killed people before that he
In his
took the
previous
path.
life,
Oh, I got it.
No, in the same life.
in the same life.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the guy with the head.
He was the warrior.
Necklace of.
No, Milarepa's green. The green guy that eats nettle all the time.
Yeah, but he was a killer.
Yeah.
This,
But he was not on Julie Mala.
Oh, okay.
this stuff brings back the importance of an ethical teacher, because if your teacher was unethical, he could have you do all sorts of things for selfish reasons, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, but then there was something that I read, I think it was in the, who was it? Someone was talking about how masterful their teacher was. I think it was in the Tibetan book of Living and Dying. And he was talking about how his teacher, I don't know if that is where it is, but and they were talking about how their teacher was such a freaking master, and he could like go and like utilize anger as a tool. He would like go out and just like completely berate someone for stealing something from the kitchen, and then would like come back up the stairs, and the student would be like, OMG, like my teacher's so pissed right now. And then the teacher would come in and just be benevolent, loving, like the anger was, it was not an affliction, it was just a tool for teaching. And then it was like immediately after, he's like jolly old, kind, loving. And he was talking about how, that's the correct way. I'm not skillful enough to do that, so I have no idea how that works. Like, and I'll make excuses in my mind, like, oh yeah, if I I can say that because it's teaching them that they're an asshole. No, that's not how it works. That's not how you use like wrath as a teaching tool. So for now, unless you have a really accelerated practice that I just don't know about, like my suggestion is don't do that. It gets out of control really quickly.
You leave it to the masters.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. The masters with these 10 qualities.
Did we finish all 10?
Yeah. Yeah, the final one is they don't become discouraged when you ask them to repeat teachings.
If necessary to the student.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It doesn't need to be verbatim.
What was I?
What was the letter L?
It was being the image of love. That's the one I said Hector does really well. Because he's always like loving us and crying, just brimming with love, like Santa. Such a good teacher. Yeah, and like this is kind of cool because I'll talk about like a time that I experienced what I thought was wrath from a teacher of mine. In the repetition of me asking questions, I was like, oh, I think they're pissed at me for doing that. And then I was like, okay, what does that mean? What am I being taught? Okay, it's because I actually know the answer and I'm just afraid or something. So taking it as a teaching anyway, like anything that happens, I've just been trying to take it as like, okay, how is that a teaching? How is that a teaching? How is that a teaching? Even if it seems that someone's being unethical. But of course, it's important to keep these qualities in mind. 3 qualities of a good student. I just want to like blast through these and then we can, is this okay for you guys? Like the level of discussion versus filling out this?
I want to ask a question at the end if we have time.
Ask it now.
What's your question?
Well, I don't want it to be out of order.
No.
So
No, it's
Ask
okay.
it now.
I want to talk about because somebody offered to teach me stuff like this, and I didn't know any of this, and I never learned it before. So I wanted to ask you about like destiny type of things, like Dharma and destiny, because I didn't study, I didn't learn anything. I was just meditating, I didn't even know why. And then somebody was like, I want to initiate you with the I'm guessing it was Tantra practices or something. Yeah.
That's
And then
interesting.
and I didn't know anything, and I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Well, what I do know about initiations is that they come with a set of vows a lot of the times. So it would be important if someone's offering you an initiation to understand if you're also being given vows and whether or not you can know those vows. Because sometimes the initiations, like you can't know the vows until you've already taken that leap.
Right. Yeah. I moved, and so I never did the initiation or anything.
Okay.
But
So it's a really nice ripening that you had a teacher come to you.
well, it was by accident. He would come to the store that I worked at, and then I just started talking to him, and I realized now that had to be what it was. Because he used the word initiation, and he had been studying meditation.
There are
for 60
initiations
years.
that have nothing to do with Tantra. There's lots of initiations
It's awesome.
in Buddhism. So, like you can go see the Dalai Lama and he'll give an initiation
Yeah, I
to
understand.
12,000 people standing next to you, So it may not have been Tantra. There are lots of initiations.
Cool.
Are you satisfied with those answers?
Well, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess I just wait. I'm just going to wait and see another teacher.
Well, the other thing is when you talk about destiny, what Buddhism talks about it as karma.
Right.
So the fact that you were drawn to come here, or the fact that you were drawn to be in the presence of this other teacher, suggests that you've accumulated a certain amount of karma in this life or in previous lives that got you to this point. It's the thinking in Buddhism is that it's pretty much impossible for you to show up here without having earned that, or maybe that's the wrong word, or without having accumulated a certain amount of virtue that drew you here
You
to want to hear this stuff.
You can't have experiences unless like you build up to the experiences.
Right. Right. So the
Unless
idea
you've
of
caught
destiny
them,
is thought of as karma. You've done things in the past that brought you here.
Destiny is like a way of saying, it's like a way of saying there's a necessary result. And that's like one of the laws of karma. If you've planted a seed, there's a necessary result that will come from that seed. That's the destiny part. When I hear the word destiny, I think of like this kind of like magical, like Disney World type of thing where like somehow out of nowhere this mystical circumstance blossoms in front of me.
Like for the first cause, that's what causes me to think stuff like that sometimes.
So according to Buddhism, there's no first cause.
Right, exactly. Nobody knows.
Well, it's not that no one knows. It's that logically speaking, a first cause doesn't make sense.
Time is beginningless and endless. There is no first cause. You can't go back to something where it starts.
So it never
Beginningless.
Right. You
and
never.
never started and it never went.
Right, because there's no way to know what the first cause of something was. Also, you can't have the first cause because karma tells us that there can't be a consequence without an action.
It's like, how could this world be created by something that didn't exist? How? Like when you think of the unmoved mover, right? The kind of idea that there's this line of dominoes, but there was like a finger that flicked them to
They must have been
ignite
part
them.
of the world too. That's what you mean.
Exactly. So it doesn't just come out of nothingness. That wouldn't make sense. The creator would have to create themselves too.
Yeah.
This is covered in another course.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to ask you. Like
No, it's cool because it works here because karma and emptiness and the logic that is the underpinning of all of this is like so essential in any course. But I'm just saying that there's a course that directly speaks to this in case you're interested in pursuing that course and looking at those materials. Because if you're thinking about that already, I mean, you have the seeds to study the material.
Cool.
Wait, remember your name again? Sorry.
Ryan.
I was gonna say Ryan. These are the type of questions that you're gonna be asking anyways, because you have to remember this is ACI 1.
Yeah.
So this is the first course. So like when this is presented to a lot of people that are new to this, these are the type of questions that they're gonna start asking anyways, which I think Geshe Michael presumed anyways, and that's why he put the answers to your question in like a later course. So it's actually really good that you're asking this.
Yeah.
So I don't feel
Cool.
bad. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can we skip to number 12?
Wait, can we do the
Because-
good student one?
No, I want to go to 12 first. Because it actually we will do it.
Okay.
But it kind of goes really nicely with Ryan's question, which is, kind of about destiny, karma, how do you create the things and the circumstances that you find yourself in. So I actually put this as one of the top things in the notes that I gave you guys because we're always talking about samsara, and I know what it is, but at the same time I don't have a clear definition of what it is. And I really like the definition that was provided in this material. So samsara, which is depicted, for those of you who haven't like noticed or been drawn to this, it's depicted here in the wheel of life. So everything inside that wheel, and there's another course on that, the different realms, is samsara.
That's all over, man.
I'm just making a face because you were opening books. I really like it. So the definition of samsara is the condition of being forced through the power of karma and mental afflictions to take on the impure parts that make up a suffering being over and over again.
Nice.
And the over and over again is talking about reincarnation and the fact that we are forced to inhabit a suffering body and another suffering body, and then when that one dies, another suffering body, and sometimes you're a squirrel, and sometimes you're a cockroach, and sometimes you're a human, and sometimes you're a really hot human, and sometimes you're a really ugly, sad human, and sometimes you have a human with the capacity to get enlightened. And so the idea is that we are there now. Is that guacamole?
No.
What is that?
It's the veggie chips.
Oh, I got so excited! Anyway, did you guys hear what I was saying? Because this is really important.
No, we were paying attention to veggie chips.
Should I read the definition again, or did you guys you want to hear it again?
Yes, please.
Okay, so please focus on this definition because it's more important than chips. Bundy. Okay. So samsara, this world that we talk about, this kind of hellish place that we always talk about, the thing we want to escape, is the condition of being forced through your karma and your mental afflictions to take on the impure parts that make up a suffering being. That's a human. A human is a suffering being, according to Buddhism. And not only does that happen once, but it happens over and over again, ad infinitum, infinite regression, and infinite progression, I guess would be the opposite. Unless you can smash the egg, like the chicken and the egg thing, it will keep going forever, the chicken and the egg, the chicken and the egg, until you smash the egg. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's how you escape samsara.
Can you, are you going to put the definition up there?
It's on
Yeah, I can.
It's on the notes, okay.
It is also in the notes.
Gotcha, I
Yeah.
got
Okay.
Near the top of the first page.
Got it.
I really like it because we think of the different realms as like separate places. Like if you guys have seen Hercules, the animated Disney movie, or like really anything that has to do with the afterlife, there's always the notion of like this secret, hidden, physical place. But samsara is a condition of the mind. And what that means is like, you can have an enlightened being sitting in this room that is experiencing total and complete bliss, love, clarity, wisdom, like orgasmic, beautiful experiences. And then like I'm just sitting here like a poor slob with my laptop. And that's like the coolest thing. I don't know, I think it's cool. Okay, so 3 requirements of a good student. This is like very cut and dry. I'm just doing it for the exam. You have to be free of preconceptions and willing to see new things. You have to be open to being a student, basically.
Where is this?
It's about number 11.
It's also being projected right up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if that's easier for you. I don't think I put it in the notes because
I see it. It's 11.
It didn't like stimulate me. I was like,
Well, the important thing here, I think, is that when you're looking at requirements of a teacher, you have to realize that there's requirements for a student too.
Right. Are these vegan?
I don't know.
I think so.
They're green.
They're green. They might be vegan.
No, I think they are, but I know
The
you're.
tag is,
So you have to be intelligent, especially in a spiritual sense. And you have to have high spiritual aspirations in life, and you're willing to work hard to teach them. So I think the idea is like, a student of Buddhism should be someone who actually wants to utilize it to do something, to escape samsara, and to become a Buddha. Otherwise, you're just sitting here gathering credentials. That's what Chogyam Trungpa was writing about. Like,
spiritual materialism.
Yeah. And he was like, don't just go to these things to gather a credential. Like, and I think it's a little risky with the exam. It's something that came to me, like, oh, just hand in all my exams and get the certificate. Who cares if you have the certificate? If you don't know what's going on, you haven't integrated this into your life, the certificate is not going to serve you.
Really?
I'm just saying.
Why do they offer the certificates?
I don't know, I think
The
it's
idea
nice.
is, these courses were written to create teachers, other teachers.
Oh,
The teacher that wrote this wanted other people to teach,
Yeah.
so he created a certificate for each course, and when you get them all, theoretically, you are now a teacher. So it's just a credential system to
like
say,
a teacher.
I've studied everything you've
Yeah.
created, so now I should go out, you should go out and teach.
Like
But I
almost
also-
like a yoga teacher training program would be. This is like a teacher training program.
In a way, but I think also like to teach, you have to have some sort of permission.
You do, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just like you get the certificate and all of a sudden you can start teaching. I mean, you
No.
can't. Like I'm kind of doing it now.
It's almost
Right.
like that
But it's
initiation
not like that.
idea.
It's separate.
Okay.
They're vegan.
They are vegan. Yes. They look like
Sorry, you had it long enough.
It does
They
look
look
like
like
guacamole.
edible, like fake nails or something.
Ew, they taste like
And guacamole.
You're supposed to keep it moving.
There's about crumbs everywhere. Well, I didn't eat any yet.
We've had it for the past 20 minutes.
Sorry. I like that you're tracking the chips. You're like, when are they going to come back around? Cool, so we have the student stuff. What's even next? I don't know.
The
Eight
eight
worldly
worldly
thoughts.
thoughts.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I actually typed these all up for you guys.
Don't we have that?
Oh, thank you.
2 and 2, right?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Kind of if you remember 4, you have the.
Oh, right. Because there's
So,
the
like,
like
2 and
positive
2,
and then
yeah.
So the one thing that I really took away from
I'm sorry, read what they are intelligent, especially in a spiritual way?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, these are really interesting. The 8 worldly thoughts which cause us to suffer. Being happy when we get something. Being sad when we don't. Being happy when we feel good. Being sad when we don't. Being happy when we are well known. Being unhappy when we aren't. Being happy when someone speaks well of us. And being unhappy when they don't. And those cause us to suffer. There was an interesting quote, and you guys can just write those out and we can discuss them further, but I want to read this to you guys. Ling Repa had this interesting quote, which I typed out underneath it on the notes that I gave you guys, and it says, "In the city of daily concerns, in our circle of life, scurry the waked cadavers of 8 worldly thoughts. This is where you can find the most frightening cemetery of all. This is where you lamas should keep your midnight vigil." That's really
That actually really good.
That sounds scary.
Can you say it again?
Yeah, I'll read it again. And again, this isn't part of the exam, so you guys don't have to write this. "In the city of daily concerns, in our circle of life, scurry the waked cadavers of 8 worldly thoughts. This is where you can find the most frightening cemetery of all. This is where you lamas should keep your midnight vigil."
It just means everyone's going to die, so everyone's pretty much already dead. So like all these 8 worldly thoughts should really just be dealt. Like you should really get rid of these 8 worldly thoughts and practice, right?
Yeah, I think it implies that, but I think that he's calling the 8 worldly thoughts zombies, basically, like animated corpses. And so the thing that comes into my mind is like, we have these thoughts, we think they're real, but really these are the most terrifying things.
Right.
These are the things which cause death. These are the things which cause suffering. These are the things which we think they have this substance to them. We believe in them, but actually they're just zombies.
Or
And
waked
why-
cadavers.
And why, but so then, why the
was
midnight, but,
keeping vigilance?
yeah. Is it-
Because like you're,
Because they're like not
you should
temptation.
be,
You have to watch.
you have to watch to make sure
Okay.
you're not
They're
having them,
scary.
right?
You have to combat them with
Right.
all of your strength and will.
And you llamas being like you guys, your own, you were, yeah, okay.
Night of the Living Dead.
It makes me think of something that
It makes-
Master Shantideva said,
That's
which
what I
I
was-
can't quote right now. But, you know, but he's talking about lovers when he says that.
He's talking about what?
Master Shantideva talks about lovers
Ah.
and desires in that way.
But it doesn't, like, the language reminds me of the Bodhisattva Charvatara, because he always talks about, like, waging war against
Yeah, totally.
your afflictions.
That's cool.
And so then, again, this is going away from the exam, but I just felt like we should talk about it. Basically, it posits the antidote to the 8 worldly thoughts. Not in the very traditional way of like, apply this antidote, like we kind of talk about it mostly. Well, I don't know, it can work that way. But the way to combat these thoughts is to perpetuate and feed the 10 riches. And those, again, they're on this sheet of notes. I thought it was nice to take with you the 8 worldly thoughts and consider those, because those are a really easy way to battle your afflictions.
What are the 10 riches?
I'm about to read them.
Oh.
So there's the 4 aims, there's the 3 diamonds, and the 3 of being, thrown out, reaching, and attaining.
Okay.
Does someone actually, I'm sorry, I've been reading a lot. Does someone want to read the 4 aims?
Sure. The 4 aims. Aiming your mind ultimately to practice. When I die, only this spiritual practice will be of use to me. I will not be able to keep a title, riches, great sex, my Facebook likes, etc. Aiming your practice ultimately to the beggar. If I have to undertake hardships to practice, let me take them on. Perhaps I will live more like a beggar than a lower middle class hipster in Brooklyn. Hashtag Bushwick love. No, wait.
That was just me having fun because I was like studying the stuff for so long.
Aiming the beggar ultimately to death. I will accomplish something of very great meaning if I die from the hardships of trying to practice. So, if for my practice I freeze to death, let me freeze. If for this I starve, let me starve. Aiming death ultimately to some dusty ravine. Who will care for me when I am sick, when I am dying? I don't care. I will die like an animal in some dusty ravine with maggots eating my flesh. So metal.
But I really,
Tibetan Buddhism is so metal.
I wanted to kind of inject some humor because it gets really dark. But basically the idea is that you put your practice above everything else. And that is based on the understanding that your practice is the only thing that you really have. It's the only thing that's really going to benefit you. Even if you have to give up things which seem to be benefiting you, this is what's going to benefit you. And he kind of is like pushing back against some thoughts that you have. Like, oh, I don't want to give my stuff up. You know, well, you can't take it with you when you die. Oh, well, you know, well, what happens when I'm dying and I've given all my stuff up and my friends and family are like, oh, that person's like a weird Buddhist, you know, freak or whatever. Who's going to take care of me? Who cares? How many lifetimes have you died with your family taking care of you only to be reincarnated into a suffering body? Why are you worrying about the place that you're going to die? Who's going to pay for your funeral? It's better to die like a dog does in a ditch.
with maggots.
Well,
cheaper.
I'd be worried about them collecting good virtues, so I'd want them to take care of me.
Well, yeah, if that's a pure thought that you have, and that's why you're doing it, then do it. And that's the point. They're using
not
hyperbole.
Right,
Yeah.
they're different.
They're using really extreme examples. But if you go, well, I think, so the big bold quote that I put is directly from the text, which I think Geshe Michael might have written, I'm not sure. But when he says, now, when we say to give up on this life, the main thing is that you give up those 8 worldly thoughts or attachments towards the pleasures of this life. In other words, you can still have people taking care of you when you die. You can still live in a mansion. You can still, eat meat. You can still have great sex. But you've given up the attachment. You've cut the 8 worldly thoughts at their root. So you're still having it sometimes, right? I guess blissful experiences, but it's not like I'm happy because of this, and then when they're gone, I'm sad because they're not here. That push-pull is gone. Doesn't mean that you need to go into a mountain somewhere. You might find that that's the choice that's going to be the best for your practice, but it might not be. It might be more challenging to stay here. But only and that's the whole point of all of this, is that everything that you're doing is empty. If going into a mountain got everyone enlightened, I would be in a mountain right now. Okay, the 3 diamonds. Who wants to read the 3 diamonds?
I'll read them. 3 diamonds. Put the untouchable diamond ahead of you. Perhaps
uncatchable.
Oh, sorry. Put the uncatchable diamond ahead of you. Perhaps a lover, family member, etc. are holding you back from practice. Do not let them. Leave them for a cave in the mountains. Don't let their expectations and your attachment to them dictate your ability to practice. Laying the unabashable diamond behind you. Don't worry about what they say after you've chosen the spiritual life. Keeping the wisdom diamond at your side. Abandon and abandon forever all the absolutely meaningless actions you do out of desire for this life.
And I'm sorry, it should also say remaining true to the commitment that you've made to yourself to pursue this path.
Where is it? Yeah.
Right after what you just read.
Oh.
So it's part of the 3?
Keeping the wisdom diamond at your side. Yeah.
Remaining.
So you've abandoned and abandoned forever. I guess it's kind of implied in the sentence, but I just wanted to reiterate it. So it's the idea that you make the commitment and you keep the commitment. You keep it at your side forever. You keep the wisdom diamond at your side. So it's not like I'm taking the wisdom diamond out for a walk in the park and then I'm putting the wisdom diamond back so that I can go out and get drunk with my friends. It's you keep it. I don't know, I really like these 3 things. Do you guys want to talk about them at all? Is anything
How could it be that you would have a very good practice of, let's say, patience and generosity, and then be running into some kind of conflict with your immediate family over basic issues in such a way that it would prevent you from that practice? If you have a practice going, wouldn't that practice be allowing you to see at least a family that's not actively stopping you from practicing?
Possibly, but you might also have different karmas that come up and can be an issue. If you have parents that are, say you truly feel that your path is to be solitary, going to meditate in the mountain. We'll just use that as an example because they talk about that so much. But you're a woman from a very traditional Roman Catholic Italian family, and they're you need to get married. What do you mean you're going to go into a mountain? That's ridiculous. Or even if they're not angry about it, you go, I'm so sad, why can't, and then you're torn between your attachment and your bond with family. Obviously this, you can come up with a million examples.
But you haven't yet accumulated enough to actually go back and see them in such a way that is supportive of you or
Right,
something
and
like
it's so,
that? I see.
but you're, I
Like
mean,
you're early on.
what you're talking about is
Yeah.
like seeing a world where there's no conflict. And you can like have a direct perception of emptiness and still see conflict. So that's like way up there. That's like way accelerated,
I see.
accelerated
But also,
practice.
like, your family's attachment to you is their karma. Or your perception.
Right,
of
but we
them.
have no idea, you know, they could all be
Right.
Buddhas trying to test you
Right.
and trying to push you in the right direction by testing your commitment to the path. So we're looking at it from all different angles, but the idea is that when you choose a path that is completely antithetical to what everyone else is doing, you know, wanting food, buying things that are going to make them happy, acquiring humans that are going to, producing humans that are going to make them happy, and you switch it on its head, and you're like, I know that it's not coming from here, it's coming from me. So then you start living your life in a way that might not make sense to anyone. And I've started to experience that too. Like, someone will be like, oh, why did you do that? And you almost like, well, do you want the long answer? Because then I need to tell you all about Buddhism. But then it's like, you know what I mean? And then you're kind of like, and there might be a little bit of a distancing there. Not necessarily a conflict, but like your philosophies are at odds.
I don't even know if it's Buddhism or if it's just, it sounds like, do you care what other people think or not? That seems like it's simple as that. Like, I mean, if you don't care what other people think, you're going to do whatever you want, be it Buddhism or not.
But you should be considerate of other people's feelings, especially the ones who love you, care about you. That's also important to mention. So not alienate people to the point
To a point.
for your practice, you know, for a practice where you're like, I don't know, creating unnecessary conflict. So
The
it's
idea is that you don't want those attachments and those conflicts to keep you from accelerating on your path. So, yeah, I mean, don't care what people think. I mean, it's easy to say that, right? But it's not very easy for me to put into practice. And it comes up where you're like, oh, you know, maybe, I don't know, I can't really think of an example right now.
Is this like
Oh,
you
yeah.
know that one, when the Buddha says kill your mother and your father, and everyone's like, obviously, I think it's higher than killing your teacher is to kill your mother, and the teaching was not that, but I don't know if it's in reference to this thing of like, you know, if your parents are coming between your path, then at that point, do you go out and shoot them but separate? I don't know. I mean, I'm asking if you guys know what the
The idea of
context
them in
is
your head, I think, is what they're talking
of
about, right?
your
Yeah.
mother and your father.
Right. I
is.
don't think he means like you literally.
Yeah. I don't think you go and kill them either.
Right. I think
Because
it's like you cut
definitely the number one
Well,
worst
you
thing
it's like you
to
cut the cord if they're holding you back from achieving.
There's so many ways of seeing it, because if you were to see your parents
Yeah.
as Buddhas, they can't be your parents. Like, in that way. Like, they're Buddha. Like, they can be your parents, but they aren't your mother and father the way that you think that they are.
But if you're seeing a person who's like, let's just say, blocking something that's very important to you, right? Like, isn't that a seed that is ripening that you can deal with without being like dismissive of, let's say, your own mother? Like,
Compassion. I think that's the bottom line. I mean, it's
I don't
just
understand what
compassion.
you're asking.
uh,
Like, can you manipulate the present reality to be
no, you
different?
can't manipulate the present reality, but you can manipulate the future reality. You may say, "Oh, my mother is standing in my way today," but I don't know if my mother is going to appear to be standing in my way tomorrow. So let me see what it is that I can do today to plant seeds that maybe tomorrow, right? For instance, right?
Yeah. So everything is a karma
Right.
that's
Yeah.
ripening. Like, everything. The appearance of her standing in the way,
Yeah.
all the ways, and then also the way that you interact with her standing in the way.
Sure.
So it might be that in order to progress,
Right.
you actually have to tell her no, and not go back, try to do
Oh.
some karmas, and then hope that she'll not
Oh.
be that way.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also seeing it as a teaching,
Oh.
because you're going to be faced with those kind of questions all along the way on your path. People are gonna ask you what you're doing and why do you come to this class and what do you get out of it, and not understand that something that you're drawn to and following this particular path is beneficial to you, but other people may not understand it. So each person you deal with along the way prepares you, strengthens your commitment to what you're doing.
It's like almost any life change.
Yeah,
Like
I think it's true.
you get
Doesn't have to
married
be
and like
Buddhism, it could be anything that you're doing. Anything that you're drawn to, playing the piano or something that, you find some people have to do it 8 hours a day, and other people are not going to quite understand why you're putting that much time into it, but it's what you are drawn to do, so.
So I guess I've just never experienced that. Like since I've I don't know, whatever. Like I've just experienced like a more supportive, like I can't imagine. Like I used to think that I used to think that my mother was like one of my greatest obstacles in my entire life for like 36 years. I'm 37. You know what I mean? And,
Stage one.
You
Roll like bow.
Something like that. And I don't know, like, I don't really know what I'm doing, you know what I mean? But like, I right, and then it's like but she's not really like the biggest thing, she's not my biggest obstacle in my life, you know what I mean? In fact, she's not even an obstacle, like, it turns out she like loves me and wants me to do, so like, I guess.
It took you 36 years to get
You
there.
changed, you flipped it.
Yeah. Right, yeah, so I don't know, I guess I like, but I don't know, I guess I'm sorry, I'm thinking a bit out loud, but I guess before I was able to flip it, I had to be like, oh, you know what, I'm not going to talk to you or something like that for a while until I figure this thing out. Right, okay, and so that's kind
Well,
of.
it doesn't always have to be. It doesn't like. There's no set way for things to go. Definitely for everyone.
Right.
It's just the idea that like what you're talking about, which I've also experienced in my life, is like maybe your mind has become more meritorious, and so, or different ways that you were seeing her as an obstacle, you might have cleared yourself. Like I had that experience with my father. Like I saw him, and I know he's not watching this. I saw him as incredibly rigid, and I wanted him to be liberal, and I wanted him to be cool with gay people, but he just wasn't. And then I was like, why am I being so rigid about wanting my dad to not be rigid? And then I started changing my perception, and I'm like, and then like, 2 or 3 or 4 years later, I'm looking at my dad, I'm like, damn, like, I think you changed a little, but I think it was me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
a play, it's like a little play. But also, like, sometimes, there are situations where you just have to, like, be like, no, in the moment.
Right,
And it's
right.
not something that you can go back and, like, tweak karma.
Right, okay.
I think. I mean, that's what I've heard.
Okay, nice.
Cool. Okay. Steve, cool? You're cool? Let's do the 3 of being thrown out, reaching, and attaining. And this is just, it synthesizes everything. Who wants to read it?
Steven. I know.
The 3 of being thrown out, reaching, and attaining. Being thrown out from the ranks of men. People will think you are crazy. They will not understand your goals, your motivations, your wishes. You may clash with others for this. Reaching the ranks of dogs. You may not have material wealth, food, reputation.
So can I just cut you off there?
Mm-hmm.
During the course of the path, it's saying you might end up giving up certain things. Like, I remember when I first started practicing, I was like, I don't need any nice clothes, and I like got rid of like so much stuff. I actually sold most of my stuff so I could go to Nepal, and it was like a huge thing for me. And now I'm like looking at my closet, I'm like, I don't have anything to wear anymore. But it's funny because my roommate, this is like such a good example of it. And my roommate is like, Rachel, you don't have any, like you always wear the same this, and this. Like why, because she's known me for a really long time. She's like, why do you do that? It's so weird. And I'm like, dude, you just don't understand. And I don't even tell her that. I'm just like, yeah, I know, it sucks. People won't understand what the hell you're doing. Like, why are you, coming here on a Thursday night when you could be out doing anything else? This is New York City. You could really be doing anything else. Why the hell are you here? Mm-hmm. None of my friends from before are here.
You want to talk more about reaching for the ranks of dogs? Or reaching the ranks?
Yeah. So it's kind of like you might not have material wealth. Say you're like, listen, I really need to do my practice. And in order to do that, I need to move to India. I mean, obviously, everyone, it's all different, right? But say, like, the typical, like, I'm giving up my corporate job, and you go, and you might not be driving a Mercedes anymore. Sorry. But then, the next one, it's like, then you attain the ranks of gods. And people might not understand you. Yeah, you gave up some stuff. But all of that created the causes and conditions for you to have the sustainable bliss forever.
Forever?
Yeah. Forever. I just thought that was so cool, and it was so like kind of, And again, like some of that might be like giving up things physically, like, like giving up meat, for an example, is something that a Buddhist might do. And like bacon is so good, but you might decide, I'm no longer going to contribute to suffering in this way, and you give it away. And that's something that you might give away. But you don't even have to. The other example is like you could eat it and have an understand and like utilize it as a tool in which you're understanding the emptiness of yourself, that process of eating and the meat. Or, you're reflecting on all of the causes and conditions that have brought you and the meat together to have this experience, and then it becomes a tool for practice.
I always think about the Matrix scene when he sells his soul to eat the steak. Yeah. He's pretty much like goes to the agents and tells them where they're gonna be, so that he's like, I don't want to be part of this anymore. And he like has the steak dinner, and he's like, this is so worth it.
Looks like that.
But he knows it's an illusion.
Right.
Right. Because he's in the Matrix. He knows it's an illusion, but he's like eating it, and he's pretty much like he's regressing. But
right.
Yeah, that guy regresses in the film, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like the bad
He
guy.
like gives up the path. Is what he's doing. Gives up the path completely.
And then
I
he
should
died.
watch that movie with like.
I want to watch it again.
Now.
Watch it here.
We should have movie night.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about it.
We should watch it here.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Movie night here. We can plan it
Yeah.
for some night. I don't know, some night. Yeah.
Does it have to be Matrix?
Why have you seen it too many times?
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it?
So good.
Oh god, it's so good.
Is it? Oh, now I'm gonna have to see it.
With like
I still have
Buddhism viewed on it. It is like
cheesy.
no. I mean, yes, but it's Keanu Reeves, so.
Wasn't there another Buddhism movie?
I Heart Huckabees.
No.
I was gonna
I used
say
to
the
love that
Truman
movie.
Show. That's another big one that I know. I feel like I heard Geshe will be like,
The
oh
Truman
my
Show.
god, the Truman Show as a like
Yeah.
Buddhist.
Really?
Sarah.
Alright, we're having movie night. Like,
Oh my
great,
gosh,
yeah.
can we like have it this week?
Is everybody signed up on the newsletter?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. I'll plan it and
Can we
look
do it on the
for
I think
it.
I'll plan it.
Look for it on the night or on the newsletter.
Yeah.
Can we do it on a night that I can come?
No.
It's hard because it's during the week, unless we did it instead of this class, there's not really.
There's something on Wednesday night? Oh.
Wait, it's on Wednesday night.
The new meditation, the Shamatha Vipassana.
Are you can cancel that?
Well, we could have a Sunday matinee.
Do it without me, it's fine. Okay.
The
We did the 4 principles of karma again already.
Yeah.
So do we need to do it again? Who remembers them? I'll try to do it from memory.
I have it written down right in front of me.
I remember them.
Okay.
Laws of karma?
Yeah.
Do you want me to
Wait,
do it?
so
Yeah.
no, you don't do it because you know
Yeah,
it.
'cause I know
Rachel,
it.
you do it.
Okay. Every cause has a result. The result is greater than the cause. You can't have a result without a cause, and you can't have a cause without a result.
Nice, let's do it the same.
Karma is definite.
Yep.
Karma expands.
Okay.
You don't create
You
a
do
cause,
it.
you don't have a result. When
Oh,
a
karma
cause
is
is
definite.
created, a result must be produced.
So actions produce similar results.
Right. So
Dang, that sounds good.
That's really good, right?
Is that the ginger?
Oh,
They come around
Is that
really
Trader
quick.
Joe's?
Mm-hmm.
I got that down.
That's so
Can you
good.
please?
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm thinking now.
Thank you. Cool.
Is the action, the thing that creates the action, is in like, in intention, is where it first starts, that's like the beginning of
Cool.
the.
Yeah, I think when you analyze it deeply enough, it's all kind of the same thing. It's like action and action and action, and it's just on different scales. This is spicy.
So spicy.
It's so good.
it's uncrystallized char.
It's really good, but it's hard to like la la la.
Yeah.
I think it's like every action has a consequence.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do the number. We did that before.
No, but to this question, right? You're saying is every action.
So what's it defining an action, I guess, because it begins with your thoughts, definitely. but like-
Yeah.
Every finger snap, I think it's like 68 karmas are ripening. So it's not like I steal
Never moving again.
something. That'll create
That'll
karma.
still create karma.
You'll be a gargoyle.
Taking
Um,
drugs.
But so yeah, so there's so many, and an action like operationally defined is just like a movement of mind basically, and that's what a karma is.
So it becomes so vague that you really can't like.
No, it's not
vague.
vague.
Everything you do, everything you think, and everything you say.
Right, but how can you find the result?
You have to.
You may not find the result for many years or
How can you
another.
prove that it was the result of something that might
Well,
have been
that's what this whole.
The karma course is something that you should do because
Course five.
and I want to do it too. I actually started doing it, and
That was the first course I started with, and it was the best course I've done.
that's awesome. Yeah. So
It
Hector
goes
will be
just so
reviewing it
into
soon.
detail on how karma works.
Awesome.
But it's, what you're asking is the question that the entire course is based
Right.
on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the fundamental question.
Yeah, like
How do we
why?
know that this stuff is actually, all this stuff we talk about is actually happening to us?
Yeah.
Right.
And-
Well, it's definitely happening, but just why and how did it start?
Well, that
I guess,
happens.
Right,
is the real
and you have to. I think it's like you have to be enlightened
And
to
just
To understand the
understand.
mechanics.
yeah.
To understand karma, like it's yeah.
Yeah,
But you can
levels.
Sorry.
Sorry. I remember it being like things that are a little bit hidden, slightly hidden, and like extremely, extremely hidden. And like the subtleties of karma, like she was saying, is remember that like
Yeah.
kakyu, something kakyu, and something even more kakyu, like mad
Even more.
And, yeah.
That sounds good.
So the subtleties of like, okay, so why am I 5'8.5" and not 5'9", and why this like why is this wood yellow, like super
Stuff that. Yeah.
But you can also have valid perceptions in which you understand why something's happening the way that it's happening, right? Because you don't necessarily need to know at this point, I don't think, every little tiny, like my body's moving this way, the temperature's like this, da 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 da. But it's like, if someone at work is like a huge asshole to me, sometimes, and this has happened where I've been like, whoa, that was me 3 years ago. And I like have a picture in my mind of exactly how I was acting at an exact period of time, the location, everything, the thoughts running through my mind, and I'm like, and that's how I created this. And you can have perceptions.
So how can you prove to yourself that that's it though? Because I would think like maybe if I had that idea in my head, I might start using my mind to make it true.
It's just like, how do you prove to yourself you're a human? How do you prove to yourself? It's like logic.
Yeah.
But for me,
I think it's also, sorry to interrupt, it's also by association. I mean, like, you kind of accept it because it's the first thing that comes up and you're associating to that one thing, and like that logically makes sense.
Yeah.
And to investigate further would almost be like futile.
So
like, why would you need to?
But you should. But you could, and that would be like an emptiness meditation.
Well, and
yeah, true.
And your truth is going to change. Like, it could work for you now, and then it's like you'll have deeper and deeper levels of understanding. You know what I mean? And so, what was a truth at a certain level is true at that moment, and it is true, and you go with it. But then, the further you go, it's like, oh, here's another layer of it, or it could have been something different, and then that becomes your truth, and that's totally okay too. Does that make sense?
Right. Well, the moment is different every time. I guess is every moment.
Yeah, I'm saying that that when your perception of a truth comes up, for you it's valid and it's true in that moment, and then that's your truth.
1,000,000,000 trillion things have changed every moment.
Yeah, and that truth will change, and then that's valid too.
It's also, your knowledge is just building on itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can't write a book without learning the letters. And that's very much what we're doing here.
What about like people who suggest that you just like stop thinking, that you just abandon completely and not intellectualize anything and just go into whatever it is, the abyss of emptiness?
That's not Buddhism.
Yeah.
Well, hold on.
Oh wait, actually.
It could be.
It
depends on why. It depends on what they mean when they say that.
Just letting go.
Okay. Can I answer? I want to go.
Well, I think Paul should say what he was going to say, and then you should say what you were going to say, because
you're
both right.
What we're learning here is to not do that and to gain an understanding that I think the common misconception of emptiness is nothingness, and that's not Buddhist emptiness. It's more of a blank screen that is upon which is projected whatever you put on the screen. You create the movie. Emptiness is the fact that the movie is different for you and for me and for everybody else in this room. You project your own life, your own reality.
It seems like if you step by step are aware of it, you build like an awareness, so that as you get closer to emptiness, you're able to be very acutely aware of it.
What you're learning, I think, is taking responsibility. Since you create the movie, you create your life. You choose how you're going to create it. And in the future, it could be a good life, it could be a bad life, depending on how you act and think and what you say and what you do now. Yeah. So if you take all this stuff to heart, the realization that you get is, I create my world. I can create an amazing world for myself if I choose to. Or I can create a very mundane world that nothing particularly happens. Or I can create a pretty nasty world. It's up to me. And it's up to me how I act and how I interact, and what I say and do is going to be my future. Now, the problem is that future may be tomorrow, it may be 10 years from now, or it may be 17 lifetimes from now. That's what you also learn here, that the result may not come for quite a while. It may come soon, it may not come soon. But still, if you take these teachings to heart, the big thing you learn is, I'm creating reality. I can create a great, wonderful paradise or a great life, or not.
So what determines how quickly the karma comes back, and how is it fair? How can it be fair in that way?
Karma's always fair.
But if there's different distances, lengths of time, how can it be fair?
Because every action produces a result. You've created your entire
what is fair? You're saying fair because I did something good yesterday, I should have something good
For
tomorrow?
instance, like what if somebody had like great intentions, worked really hard, and it took them 35 years to accomplish something, and then somebody was just like, and then it just happened like this? How
It
is
doesn't happen.
That doesn't
It
It doesn't
does.
happen that way.
It appears to happen that way, but the person that happened like this had done something before to create their
In the
happening like
past.
that.
Sometime in the
Right,
past,
so-
maybe last year, maybe 5 lifetimes ago. But that's what I'm saying, the reason you show up in this room is because you've created the karma to have this interest, to come to be here. And you may have not done that last year or 2 years from now. It may be in your last life that's what Buddhism is saying. There's no beginning, there's no end, so your consciousness goes on and on and on, lifetime after lifetime.
So,
And
yeah.
if you hold it, if you believe in this stuff, it affects how you live right now, because you know that you're gonna get the result at some point in the future.
But it's also, if I could add on to that, something that you said, it's like the concept of stopping your thoughts.
I wanted to go.
No, you're gonna
Wait.
do
Yeah,
what?
I do
I
that
know
a
what
lot.
you're gonna
Hold
say,
on.
but I'm gonna say something that I just think is like relevant on a basic level.
And then let's see.
Stopping your thoughts is like, why not just take a shit ton of OxyContin every day?
Well, then you
Why
don't have
not
the hangover.
just? Yeah, but if you take it every day, what's the point? Why don't I just go get a lobotomy?
But it's not that at all. It's like stopping 95% of your thought processes by just completely letting go.
What's letting go?
Just like giving up everything. Giving up everything. Just letting it go to whatever.
In what sense?
Just I don't know. You just say, I give this to Buddha. And then it just goes.
And what happens to your body?
It just becomes extremely relaxed.
And then you're homeless, or you're...
Well, I mean,
the
95.
paramedics come and take you away?
95%. I mean, it's not like you lay in the street, but it's like you can without using any sort of like intellectual anything, you can get to a state that's really, really peaceful and calm.
Then what
Yeah.
about when you die?
Well, you're gonna stop thinking when you die.
That actually sounds close to death, though, what you're describing.
Yeah, but it's not, because you experience things you experience everything. You're not thinking about it.
Steve?
Well, you kind of already went there, so.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about something else.
No, you already went there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't-
I thought you were
that's
going to
fine.
talk about non-attachment and talk
No,
about...
I was gonna debate you on like, have you ever tried to stop thinking? And
You
and
don't-
what is it that you're labeling as stopping thinking?
Right.
That's different.
It's like you get out of the way. It's like you move out of the way of your thoughts.
Right. So then, is it you that's stopped thinking? Is it who are you labeling you?
It's whatever amalgam of concepts and ideas that it's formed in me. You just push it away, and then
And where's your mind?
it's watching.
Okay, so it's not quite a stopping of thought because you're concentrated on something else,
Sounds like
right?
meditation.
It is
Yeah.
exactly meditation.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a stopping of thought would be nothing coming through, right? You're just detaching from a thought, which is meditation. So,
Yeah, the thoughts aren't you.
right. Which is like, you're still, like, you always have to have some sort of subject-object interaction because you can't just like disassociate it from your own mind. Like there always is a mind, whether you're labeling it as Ryan or whatever it is, amalgam, substance. You're still a subject perceiving object, and whether you're concentrating that subject on the object of, and I don't know what it is during your meditation, but the thoughts then become sort of like passive, and you're not attached to them, right? Which is like the actual meditation, which is the shamatha vipassana meditation.
It's also making me think of, what is it called? It starts with a P, when you're a very high yogi and your senses withdraw.
Oh, yeah.
Anything?
Pratyahara?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it sounds like, in a way. But I like what you said.
It sounds like, I mean, you sounds like you know what you're doing. Whether you've
Yeah,
been,
but I'm telling you that I don't know anything.
right, but I'm
You just
saying,
think that you
whether
know.
you've been taught or not, it sounds like you have the propensity to understand how to meditate in the first place.
Most people struggle with getting to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they get their thoughts out of the way of a meditation. Most of us sit in a meditation and say, I wish I could stop thinking about lunch. Or if that comes easy for you, then you're ahead of the game. If you can sit and watch your thoughts and remove your,
How come you got that so quickly?
yeah.
And it's also like, since you haven't been taught, maybe you're calling it stopping thought, but I don't think it would be called a stopping of thought. Like there's still, and that's what I was gonna go to before, which was talking more about it. When you get into that meditation practice, eventually the thoughts that arise and pass that you're trying not to attach to will become less and less. They say it's like when you first start the practice, it's like opening up a fire hydrant. It's just going to be like a flooding of thoughts, and you're so easily attached to a thought, like shanghaied by a thought, and you're like, oh, that's me, and then you have to come back and watch these thoughts again. But eventually, they say, it becomes less and less, and in those spaces, it can almost be thoughtless, and then that space is like where you're gonna go deeper into your meditation.
I was gonna say also that the language that you're using, like, I feel like there's all different translations, and some schools will specifically say something in a way that sounds incorrect, but they're really saying the same thing as the other school.
Like the no self.
Yeah, like they'll say it in a way that sounds antithetical to the Buddhist meaning, so that people will have to argue against the antithesis to prove the thesis. You have to argue against what's incorrect. It's like a false positive. They'll put something out there and they'll be like, oh yeah, it's this, and then everyone's like, no, if you were really Buddhist, you would know that it was this, 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 and this. And then they're like, yeah, that's why I said that.
Put it that way.
Because I wanted you to arrive to this conclusion. So in a way, describing it that way is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've seen that in scripture a lot, where I'm like, would a realized being like that, like, really say this? And then upon analysis, realize that it's super profound.
You should attend the class next Wednesday if you're available. It's free. They're just starting to do the Shamatha Vipassana meditation course, and she'll probably hit on a little bit of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going on a retreat thing for Vipassana.
The 10-day Vipassana retreat?
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Wait, raise your hand if you've done it.
Oh, no way. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah, it's great. You're gonna love it. It's
Cool.
great.
It's terrible, you're gonna hate it.
Wait.
Just make sure to stay. Yeah.
Literally, what's it like 2
Just
days
don't
after that? Because I have like important stuff 2 days after that. I'm gonna be
2 days I was
way
fine.
different.
I was pretty integrated in the world.
After 2 days, after you left.
The day I came back, I was like,
How long is it for?
I can't do anything.
10 days.
Whoa. You're doing that?
Yeah.
Wow. Have you meditated a lot before?
Every day, yeah.
For how long?
Like 3 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that. Awesome.
You should, I don't think you have a problem, but definitely stay the whole full 10 days, no matter what.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
I
You
want to
don't
go.
have to meditate a lot to go. You can just go.
A lot of people that were there didn't ever meditate.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's up?
I want to go back to what Paul was talking about, or how we were saying, well, like, how do you know karma is fair, right? Like, this is something that I struggled with a lot too, like at the beginning, and like I've talked to Hector a lot about it, because I struggled a lot when I had cancer almost 5 years ago, and so like when I was talking to Hector about it, we were saying like, you know, like there are babies that die, right? Like my friend's son is in the NICU with chest tubes and was born preemie with fluid in his lungs. And it's like, you know, a baby, like a newborn human baby, right? Like, I guess we say that with every finger snap there's karmas, but also like how much karma is a newborn? I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know.
You're thinking about just this life.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, like, and that was what Hector was saying, is that when we think about these things, we're thinking only about in this life.
How do they prove
But
it in their life, though?
There's a course on
There's
that.
Take all the courses.
That's a whole separate course, but, you know, and that was what I talked about with Hector, was that it has to be something from a previous life, because like produces like, and karma multiplies.
Rabina had a really nice response to
exactly.
this. And she said, because this actually comes up in many of her teachings where she has to answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that, you know, someone was, she was in a wheelchair, and she kind of raised her hand, and she was like, and she was very upset. And she was like, you know, so I created this. Like, you're telling me that I created this? And she said, yeah. You know, but you also created the conditions for you to be a human, to hear the Dharma, to be living in this city, to have clothes to cover your body, and then it's really important. Rejoicing is really important. It's probably more important in this culture, I would say, than looking at all the shitty stuff you created. Because it multiplies the good stuff. And we do have a lot to rejoice about.
Oh, yeah. You know what I remember going through? Like, I went through this spell, and something that helped me a lot with, like, being okay with the concept of karma and things that it was, like, felt very whack. Like, are you kidding me? Was that I had an easier time accepting that even if I don't remember what I did to plant the seeds to have this life, that it, one, made more logical sense that there would have been a cause and a result than what I had learned up until I was 28 and first came here, which was the belief in a creator God, which to me felt even more whack. That there was some dude in the sky randomly making decisions, right? And at that point, because I definitely went through a phase in my life before I ever met Buddhism where I was like, a deep question of like, why? Like, why did God give this to me? And so it made it easier for me to accept karma, that like, even if I don't know why, I didn't know why when it was a creator God, but I didn't have control. Now I don't know what I did, but at least I have control. At least, like, I can change it. If it's karma, I am the master. If it's some dude in the sky, I'm fucked. You know? I'm fucked. Does that make sense? That's sort of what helped me.
And the more that you think about it,
I think that's a good way to put it.
That's, I mean,
You have control over the next life. You know, if you want to have a good one the next time, here's your chance.
Or like, if I don't know what's going on, I didn't know what was going on before, and like I can way more buy into cause and effect than I can buy into ding 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 some fairy like floating around dropping bombs on some people and not on others.
So we also discussed the idea of joyful effort in one of the previous courses. And I think a lot about this as someone who has been diagnosed with major depression. When I'm depressed, you know, it seems like, oh, you know, where did this come from? Why is this my life? Why me? And then when you start learning Buddhism, you get to infuse the suffering that you experience with wisdom, and then slowly it turns into just wisdom. And in that way, you're purifying the shitty karmas that caused those shitty experiences in the first place, so that you don't have to experience it anymore. If it's just purposeless suffering, you can kind of get caught up in how bad it is. But if you understand that that very suffering is providing you with an opportunity to overcome the thing which caused it in the first place, then it becomes joyful. Not all the time, but you can plant the seeds for like the second it comes up. It's kind of like when Master Shantideva says, like, you know, be happy when you're around people that irritate you. Because at some point, you're going to get to a place where, like, pretty much everyone I hang out with is, like, awesome, you know? Like, I, you know, don't really have huge qualms. But then, you know, something will come up and I'm like, oh, that's me. That's my thing. That's my ego thing. Whatever. And then it's a chance to purify. It's really hard when it's really shitty, painful stuff. Yeah. I really like that because it helps me, so I like it. We're done, aren't we? Are you guys going to go for a little bit more? Hector usually goes to 9:45.
Oh, we have a lot more to go, so I guess that's...
Well, I wanted to finish the rest of this next week.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but actually, like, we covered, so it's 15 through 21. So we did more than half.
Yeah, awesome.
Does anyone have any final questions?
I have a final comment for Ryan.
Yeah.
About future lives. I always think, like, even if I can't prove that there's future lives, at least I know I'm doing good in this life to make this world a better place. So, like, it doesn't, and like, without getting into like the existential part of like how does karma work and the mechanics, like, even like with just being compassionate and trying to have correct view and like taking responsibility for all my actions, at least I know I'm trying to make this life better for myself and for others. So, like, I'm okay with that.
Right,
without even
like
having
a program, like a perfect program for like if you had to follow some sort of moral system,
right,
outside of your own, this is like is a well thought out like program. Like, you think the Matrix, this would be like it would be the ultimate program. I guess.
Yeah.
You guys are making me feel like I gotta watch the movie.
Go home and watch
Well, there's
it.
gonna be a movie night.
Okay, so we're gonna have movie nights.
Really good.
Yeah.
Steven's gonna comment as the movie plays.
Oh yeah.
Guys, it's like.
We could totally do.
So
Oh my
this
god.
part.
Oh, it's so good.
Just so you guys know, the final page, it's more lists, but so we didn't go over the 6 sufferings of a human life, and we didn't go over the 7 steps to develop the wish for enlightenment, aka the 7 steps to develop bodhicitta.
And those sheets back next week.
Yeah, why don't we do it next
Pick it up
week?
and finish it all.
We can.
Because aren't we gonna
I would
finish
like for you
these
guys to take them. I'll probably come up with more for next week, but we can do it. Whatever. Yeah.
But we're
Either
gonna
way.
finish the exam too next week, right?
Yeah. But what I wanted to say was that these are really good meditation tools. Like, if you want to do an analytical meditation,
I like review.
or even a review meditation.
I love it.
I was just gonna say, this is really, really good stuff.
What's
So-
a review meditation?
Review meditation. Oh,
Go ahead, no, jump on it.
there you go.
Well, I mean, I'm not 100% sure,
There you go.
but it's like basically this thing where you feel like you're doing this really cool, awesome thing, and it's kind of easy, but it's not really. You say there's a list, there's a lot of them in this lineage. You go over the list over and over and over again, and like put it in different order and like review it, and I think that's what I think it is. Rachel probably
I
has
think
more
that's what it is.
in-depth
I
reason.
don't know. More than
That sounds like memorization, right?
Yeah, but like,
But that's review meditation.
yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
Okay.
You like read it, put it down, think.
I just remember Hector doing it with us with like the 4, whatever you're supposed to call them, in this lineage, noble truths, which I guess your Michael has a special word for it, and like switching them around, and is it this, is it this, is this, okay, is there a reason for this order, and sitting and really reviewing, okay, if you're doing the 4 laws of karma is certain, and then what's number 2? Oh, number 2 is, it grows, and then you go back and forth.
Huh.
And then analytical is like debating.
Yeah, I only know analytical, I guess.
And then single pointed concentration.
That's the best one, I think. That's how you get to see everything. Like, if you do concentration.
Yeah, but the object matters too, like what you're focusing that concentration on.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
Depends.
And like, isn't it like,
There's debates on that too.
but isn't it like if you're doing an emptiness meditation and your thoughts veer to like an analytical meditation, it should be back. Right? Like,
Right, well, whatever your
isn't it
meditation
that
is.
whatever your meditation is should stay on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should stay on the object. Cool. So let's dedicate, and then next week we'll finish up the exam and then just continue to talk. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah.
I might do a little bit of ACI 2 review as well, not with the exam, but just to go over some core concepts, because then Hector's going to do ACI 3 when he comes back. Isn't he, right? 3? Is he going into 4? He didn't do meditation yet. He'll have to do 3.
Way go! After you. This is nice, Rachel. I like your outline.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really helpful.
Oh, the little notes?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I like the list.
It does not include everything, so if you guys really like, the course is worth taking.
Sashi Puki Jushin Metotram Viravnichi Nindayam Padi Sange Shindu Nite Luargi Drakunanda Shingla Juparsho Iram Guru Mandala Kanya Tayani Gewa Yukun Suram Yashe Tsotshin Suram Yashe Lejunwe Tambakuni Toparsho.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks for coming, guys. This is a really nice group. Like, that was so fun.
Thanks,
It was fun to do, guys.